The year was 1944. Europe was in ruins. The sound of war never stopped. Bombs in the distance, tanks rolling through empty towns, and the low hum of fear that never went away. Among the chaos, a young soldier named James Walker trudged through the mud with his platoon somewhere in northern France. He was 23. Not a hero, not a coward, just one of thousands trying to survive another day. In the pocket of his uniform, James carried a small notebook. It was soaked with rain, the pages torn and stained with dirt. Inside were letters to his fiancée, Claire, letters he had never mailed. He wrote them whenever he could, in foxholes, in barns, in the cold darkness between battles. They were his lifeline. Every letter began the same way. My dearest Claire, I don't know if this one will reach you, but writing to you makes me feel human again. James had grown up on a small farm in Iowa. When the war began, he enlisted without hesitation. He believed in the cause, believed that freedom was worth any cost. But after 2 years on the front, the speeches and slogans had all burned away. Now there was only exhaustion, fear, and the smell of smoke that never left his clothes. His best friend in the platoon was Tommy Brooks, a kid from Chicago with a grin that could break the tension in any trench. Tommy talked about baseball, about girls, about what they'd do when they got home. He kept James sane. One night, while rested near the front line, Tommy said, "You ever think about what we'll do if we actually make it out of here?" James smiled weakly. "I'll marry Claire, buy a house, start a life." Tommy nodded. "I'll drink a cold beer in a quiet place and never complain again." They laughed softly. The next morning, their unit was called forward. The fighting was brutal. Shells exploded everywhere, shaking the ground. Men screamed. Smoke covered the sky. When the chaos ended, James looked around for Tommy, but Tommy wasn't there. He found his dog tags lying in the mud. That night, in the dim light of a candle, James wrote another letter. "Claire, I lost a brother today. I never thought it would hit me this hard. The world feels smaller without him. I hope you never know what this feels like." He folded the letter carefully, slipped it into the notebook, and stared at the darkness until morning. Weeks passed. The war moved on. James and his unit pushed deeper into enemy territory. They were tired, hungry, and numb. One gray afternoon, while scouting ahead, James came across a wounded German soldier lying by the road. The man was bleeding badly, clutching something in his hand. A photograph. A woman and a little boy smiling. For a long moment, James just stood there, gun in hand. He could have ended it right there, but he didn't. The German looked up at him, terrified, whispering, "Bitte, please." James knelt down, looked at the photo again, and said quietly, "You've got a family waiting for you too, huh?" He gave the man some water and called for a medic. That night, he wrote another letter. "Claire, I did something today I can't explain. I helped a man I was told to hate. Maybe I'm just tired, or maybe I'm remembering that the enemy has a heartbeat too." As the months dragged on, the letters became shorter, fewer words, more silence between the lines. Every soldier knew the war was near its end, but no one dared believe it until they heard it for themselves. Then, in May of 1945, the news came. Germany had surrendered. It was over. The soldiers cheered. Some cried. Others stood in stunned silence, too worn out to feel joy. James just sat down on the side of the road, opened his notebook, and read the final letter. My dearest Claire, the war is over. I should be happy, but I keep thinking of everyone who isn't here to see this day. Maybe victory isn't about winning. Maybe it's about surviving. He closed the notebook and held it against his chest. He didn't cry. He just stared at the sky, watching the smoke drift away. Months later, he returned home. The fields were green again. The air smelled of rain, not gunpowder. Claire was waiting on the station platform, wearing the same blue dress she'd worn the day he left. When she saw him, she dropped her bag and ran to him. He caught her in his arms, and for a moment, the war disappeared. That night, James couldn't sleep. He sat by the window, the old notebook in his hands. He opened it one last time and read through every letter. The paper was wrinkled, the ink smudged, but the words still held the voice of the man he used to be. He tore out each page and placed them gently into the fireplace. The flames took them, one by one, until only the final page remained. My dearest Claire, I have returned. I've learned what peace truly costs, and I will never take another sunrise for granted. Years later, James passed away quietly in his sleep. He never spoke much about the war, but that final letter, the one he never burned, was found tucked inside his uniform, folded neatly against his heart. It now rests in a small museum, a single piece of paper, yellowed with age, carrying the voice of one soldier who saw the worst of humanity and still believed in love. Every year, visitors stand before the glass case and read his words aloud. And for a moment, the world grows quiet again. Freedom, the letter reads, was never free.